Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are going to unpack a truly brilliant, timeless narrative. We're looking at the classic tale of Tenali Rama and the fake astrologer. Now, on the surface, sure, it's just a fun, historical story set in a royal court. But as we break it down together, we're actually going to extract a massive, highly practical lesson about critical thinking. Whether you grew up on the folklore of Tenali Rama or you're hearing his name for the very first time today, the structured logic he uses here is something we can all learn from. So let's get right into the analysis. Okay, let's dive into this with a question that has literally captivated humanity for centuries. Can anyone really see the future? I mean, we see it all around us, right? People making these absolute guarantees about what's going to happen tomorrow, next year, or even a decade from now. And that is exactly the central mystery and conflict that kicks off our narrative today. We are dealing with a character who stakes his entire reputation on this exact concept.
Section 1. The New Astrologer in Court. Setting the scene.
To really understand the stakes here, you've got to picture the majestic setting of King Krishnadevaraya's royal court. This was a place of immense power, wealth, and intellect. And out of nowhere, a famous astrologer arrives at the palace gates. He doesn't just walk in quietly, though. Oh no. He makes an incredibly bold public claim. He announces to the king and all the assembled nobles that he possesses the power to perfectly predict anyone's future. No guesswork, no vague hints, just absolute flawless foresight. Naturally, the king isn't going to just take his word for it, right? So when the king tests him, the astrologer makes these initial predictions that instantly hook the courtiers. But, while everyone else is leaning in with wide-eyed wonder, one man leans back. The famous, witty courtier Tenali Rama immediately senses a rat. Section 2. The astrologer's big claim. The trap is set. Tenali realizes that you don't argue with a fraud. Instead, you test their boundaries. So, in front of the entire court, Tenali stands up and asks a brilliantly simple question. He asks the astrologer, "If you know the future of everyone in this room so perfectly, do you also know your own future?" Well, the astrologer doesn't even hesitate. He puffs out his chest, looks around the grand hall, and booms, "Yes, absolutely. I will live for 100 years." I mean, he is completely full of himself at this moment. He's just basking in the attention of the royal court, making the biggest, most untestable guarantee he can think of, just to cement his status as this mystical master.
Section 3. Tenali Rama's test. The ultimate stress test. It's pretty easy to claim you'll live a century when you're standing comfortably in a safe, heavily guarded palace. But Tenali? He prepares an immediate physical stress test. With a perfectly calm, almost dangerously quiet tone, Tenali looks the astrologer dead in the eye and asks, "Are you completely sure?" He is methodically locking the astrologer into his own hubris. He's making absolutely sure there's no backpedaling, no wiggle room, and no way to later claim he was just misunderstood. And the astrologer, completely blinded by his own ego and completely oblivious to the trap that has just snapped shut around him, doubles down. Absolutely, he declares. He is totally committed to his own narrative of invincibility.
Now, watch how this builds into the climax of our story. Tenali's hand drops to his side, and he pulls his heavy steel sword halfway out of its sheath. The metallic sound just echoes in the quiet court as he starts advancing with intense purpose. And as he closes in, Tenali cheerfully points out that, well, if the astrologer is guaranteed to live 100 years, he has absolutely nothing to fear right now, because clearly his death isn't coming today. Section 4. The astrologer's truth. The facade crumbles. Let's just appreciate the beautiful irony here for a second. Just seconds ago, this guy was an untouchable master of time and destiny. But the very moment cold, hard reality steps into his space, the whole act completely falls apart. You can almost picture the color completely draining from his face as the sheer panic sets in. All that grand mystical power, it vanishes in an instant. The astrologer stumbles backward, waving his hands frantically, completely terrified, and screams out, "Wait, do not kill me!" His supposed perfect foresight is instantly replaced by basic, desperate human terror. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer absurdity of the situation. Look at the contrast. In one breath, a man is claiming to live 100 years with absolute, unshakable certainty, and in the exact next breath, literally seconds later, he is begging for his life in absolute terror. I mean, come on. You simply cannot have both of these things be true at the same time. The contradiction itself is the proof. With his point so beautifully made, Tenali Rama simply smiles and sheaths his sword. See, the danger was never actually real. It was just a tool for deduction. He turns to the king and lays out his logic plainly. A man who is genuinely terrified for his life right now cannot possibly know for a fact that he will live for a century. Therefore, the astrologer's claim to know the future is undeniably false. It is just a brilliant, immediate dismantling of a fraud, using absolutely nothing but basic critical thinking. The resolution of our story is swift. The astrologer, thoroughly embarrassed and exposed in front of the entire royal court, just hangs his head. He confesses the truth. He admits that, he was just wildly exaggerating to impress people and gain favor. The king, realizing how closely he was nearly fooled, issues a stern warning and dismisses the fraud from the palace for good. But most importantly, the king turns and highly praises Tenali Rama's deep intelligence. He actually rewards the very skepticism that protected the court from deception. Section 5. The real moral of the story. Applying the lesson today. Because look, we aren't just here to recount a 16th century fable, right? We want to apply Tenali Rama's logic to our incredibly noisy modern world. So the crucial point is captured right here in these two takeaways derived straight from our source text. First off, never blindly believe massive claims that completely lack proof. Whether it's a product guaranteeing impossible results, some clickbait headline making an outrageous statement, or someone claiming perfect knowledge of the future, require evidence. And second, recognize that true wisdom isn't about knowing all the answers. It's actually found in asking the right questions. Tenali Rama didn't out-magic the astrologer. He just asked a question that the astrologer's own logic couldn't survive. I want to end our explainer today by turning the lens directly onto you. What is a recent big claim that you accepted without asking for any proof? Take a moment to really think about that today. I challenge you to channel just a little bit of Tenali Rama's healthy skepticism the next time someone offers you a guarantee that sounds just a bit too perfect. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.